Hey girlies, welcome to IVF PGT SR Diaries. I'm Kerry and I'm currently undergoing IVF for PGT SR testing. So I thought today I would do a video just kind of explaining my journey to qualifying for NHS funded IVF. So the journey started kind of years ago really. So in my family I do have my brother and my sister's little girl, my niece, who do have complex disabilities as a result of an unbalanced translocation. So my mum and my sister are carriers of balanced translocations. So kind of growing up, it kind of always I always suspected that I might have a balanced translocation as well. And when I was 26, I decided to kind of get tested for that. And what that kind of entailed was initially a appointment with my GP where we mapped out my family history, my family tree, and kind of who was infected by the balanced translocation, who wasn't, and who kind of had balance and unbalance, and he kind of could see from that that I did need a referral to see a geneticist. So I was referred for that. That was quite a long wait really to see a geneticist, but when I did, again we reviewed my family history together, and she, again she could see that I needed to be tested for this genetic disorder. So, and all that kind of really entailed was a blood test. It was so quick. It was kind of, I kind of was in like the hospital. I kind of went downstairs, they took my blood and that was it. And then I had a wait, I want to say, for about 3 or 4 weeks. It wasn't kind of too long, not as long as you'd kind of think for this type of thing. And I had another appointment then with a geneticist where she explained to me that I was a carrier for the balanced translocation of 10 and 18, which is the same of my other family members. So but at that time I wasn't kind of looking to have children. I was with my husband, but we weren't looking to have children at that point. So they kind of just sent me on my way and said, when you are ready to have children, do come back to us. So then in 2023, me and my husband, we decided that we were ready to have children. Well, we kind of decided like a little bit before we knew we were going to have a baby, because we knew that this process was going to be long. So when we were like, yeah, kind of in the next year or so, we would like to have a child, we kind of decided, okay, I need to go back to the GP and re-refer myself to the geneticist. That time, that was even a longer wait. I can't remember how long, but I know that maybe I was like referred in the October and I wasn't seen again. I wasn't seen until kind of like a February, so it was quite a few months. So what they then did when I did see a geneticist, and they're called like genetic counsellors, they wanted to kind of just review some of my family's records just to make sure that they had everything covered. So then like my mum and my sister had to give consent for that, so they kind of looked at my mum's records, my sister's records, my niece's records, and my brother's records, just to make sure that they wanted to make sure that they were, if I was having some testing, that they were going to test everything with the IVF, they were going to test everything that needed to be tested. So they went and did that, and then so that took a little while, and then we met again, and then they confirmed that yes, they were kind of confident that kind of I would need this certain type of IVF. So from then they were they stated that I did qualify for NHS funded IVF, so 3 rounds of it. And when they say a round, what they mean is I would have an egg retrieval, and however many viable embryos there is from that, I would each of them transferred, and if none of them were successful, that would class as 1 round. So kind of for NHS IVF, for NHS funded IVF, there is a strict criteria. So that, the woman has to be under 40 years old. You have to be with your partner for at least a year. You and your partner can't have a child together that's unaffected by the condition. And the woman has to have a BMI of between 19 and 30. So you have to kind of agree that you meet all that criteria, which they were content that I did. Oh, and you can't smoke. So so they were kind of content that I met all that criteria. So then what they did is they gave me a list of IVF clinics in the country that do that kind of funded testing. So they're not every IVF clinic in England. You can't just get the be funded IVF anywhere, it has to be certain clinics. So from my memory, I think there was definitely Nottingham, London, I think maybe one in Manchester, and potentially somewhere else. So I had to choose like between them. So and they all had varying wait times. So the one in London, that had like 18 months, whereas the one in Nottingham had like 4 months. So we decided that we didn't want to wait another 18 months to get to a point where we would be starting. So we decided to go with the clinic in Nottingham that had a 4-month wait. And so like we had to fill in some paperwork, and then they had to kind of send that off to Nottingham, and they had to kind of like Nottingham had to confirm that they would accept us, which they did, fortunately. Yeah, so then we were then referred to them, and then they took over from there. So that is kind of the story, really. It kind of talking about it can sound simple, but there was a lot of waiting around that for appointments and kind of checks of records and things like that. But yeah, I feel very fortunate to be able to have the NHS funded IVF. I think it's such a privilege to have. So I feel very, 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 very grateful to the NHS for that. So yes, so let me know in the comments if you have a similar story, or if you have any questions about NHS funding, anything like that, especially for balanced educations. Let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.